Welcome to Exploring the Paranormal. Hosted by Heather Lee, PhD, Exploring the Paranormal offers a new, fresh look into paranormal research. Join Heather as she discusses some of the many haunted locations worldwide, discusses why these locations are haunted, hear from paranormal researchers about their personal experiences at these locations. Additionally, Heather takes a journey into the science behind the paranormal, discussing topics such as thermodynamics and the Heisenberg principle and how they both affect paranormal activity. Now, your host of Exploring the Paranormal, Dr. Heather Lee.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I am super excited for today's show. The one thing that I do want to share before we get started is that I know everyone takes the paranormal field super serious, which is something we need to do, but that doesn't mean you can't have a little fun along the way. As long as you're enjoying what you're doing, still following all the rules, staying safe, there's nothing wrong with having a little fun, I guess you want to say. And it's you want to laugh, you want to have fun, because my guest will be talking about this later on today, is when you're happy and excited, you open yourself up to a whole world of different things. And so many spirits will come to you. I mean, if you think about it, if you guys are, gloomy and doom and gloom, would you want to talk to you when you're down and out? So you want to make sure that you kind of are happy and, refreshed. And of course, you never want to go on an investigation when you're depressed or anything like that. That's, one of the no-nos. But the spirits just love to interact when you're having fun, when you're enjoying yourself. That's why I always say test out new things and think outside the box. I mean, that's one of the most important things in this field that we can do. When you're thinking outside the box, you come up with different investigation techniques, different experiments. You can reach out to spirits that might not have reached out previously. A lot of the paranormal teams use beach balls when they're trying to reach out to kids. I use the fidget spinners whenever I do my investigations. You don't want to always be the same old. And it's just very interesting how I know we do need to be serious, but there's so much. I don't really want to use the word competition because there really shouldn't be competition in this field. We need to be working together, but there is. And that is one thing that I love about my guest, Monique, later on. You guys will meet her in about a half hour. She'll be joining us. She is absolutely amazing, complete breath of fresh air. You're going to love her. And I can't even say too much or enough about her, but I don't want to spoil it quite yet until she's ready to come on. So getting back to the thinking outside of the box. One thing I want you guys to think about is, when was the last time that you tried something on a paranormal investigation, or you researched something in the paranormal field that wasn't mainstream, something that wasn't on TV and the TV shows we watch, something that you didn't see another paranormal team do in a YouTube video or shared on Facebook? When was the last time that you actually sat down and came up with something 100% truly on your own? Like I had mentioned earlier, the fidget spinner, I've used that before. If you come up with anything on your own, any unique investigation techniques, please feel free to share it in the comments. If you're catching the replay of this, I will make sure I usually check back on the comments every once in a while to see if there's anything there. And just feel free to comment and let me know that, and I'll make sure that I kind of share, and maybe we can brainstorm together and come up with some new unique ideas to investigate this field. Because if you think about it, these ghosts, they hear the same thing over and over. Who are you? How long have you been here? One that I always hate to ask is, how'd you die, or when did you die? And it's not so much because, a lot of people say it's because the spirits don't realize they're dead. It's just, I wouldn't want to be asked that. So it's, let's all come together and actually brainstorm and have fun in this field. So, hey, Casey, how are you doing? Let me know when you use it and any results. I actually had Jeff Slackshire was on my show a couple months ago, and he sent me a video of him using the fidget spinner, and it was very interesting. I love the fact that I'm sharing that, and more people are using it. It's a lot of people just are like, really, but it's an amazing tool, and we're actually hoping to go out soon and do an investigation where I can put my light up ones in use. And so yeah, they're amazing tools, and you don't think about it. Allow the other things too is there's a lot of the kids spy tools that are out there. I'm trying to think of the name of the one, but it was almost like a laser light. My son had one when he was younger, and you could put it on either side of the door, and when you step through it, it like starts beeping. Little things like that. You could use those for your laser grids. Set a couple of those up. The talking parrots that you see usually at Cracker Barrel, I think, is where a lot of them are, but you can find them online. And then there's also a hamster that does the same thing, and you speak to them and they repeat after you. If a spirit speaks, the theory is that it picks up on it. And I've had several people tell me that when no one in the room was talking, all of a sudden the bird was talking. So it could have been a spirit, could have been a malfunction, but the way these are designed to work, it's kind of, interesting. And what I like about using, I don't want to really say kids' toys, but what I like about using those is they're not made for paranormal research. So they're not, I don't want to say, because sometimes you need a tool that is made for this field because it is such a specialty field. But using a tool that's not made for the field removes any possibility that it was, I don't want to say tampered with either. It was manipulated to give results. So by using a kid's toy that had nothing to do with the paranormal field, or even, I know my co-host from Ghost Education 101 is going to cringe when I say this, but the cat balls, using those, they're not designed, for paranormal research, but they work great, and so, use those. And there's so many things. Talking about having fun with the spirits, I just remembered we were on an investigation, and I know it's a touchy subject when you talk about a little child being there. And I would say there's 50-50 chance if you're communicating with a child that it is really a child spirit. But you always have that risk that it's either an adult spirit trying to have fun or, goof around, mislead you, or a demonic entity trying to mislead you as well. But we were there, and there were blocks, and I had put all the old wooden blocks, and I had put them up in a little pyramid. And I had said, if you're here, can you please knock these over? And all of a sudden the blocks came tumbling down. And I got so excited. But before I got too excited, we set the blocks back up. We stomped around them because they were on the floor, just to make sure that there weren't a truck passing by or something that might have done it. And we tried everything we could to knock them over, and they wouldn't knock over. I was so super excited. So something as simple as that, you could use, but, and there's so many things. Era cues are a great way to connect with spirits. I know, again, my co-host from Ghost Education 101, he dressed up as a Union soldier, I think it was, and they went to a Civil War site, and he got lots of activity. Another friend of mine, he plays era music whenever they're at an investigation to lighten the spirit. He also dresses up in the period. It was like an early colonial type building. He would dress up in that period, as well as other people in the group. So there are so many different things that you can do besides the standard ghost tools, and just, again, think outside the box, have fun. I know we need to be serious because safety is an important measure, but if you, like I said earlier, and you guys will learn this later on in my show when my guest comes on, if you are happy, smiling, if people in the group are laughing, wouldn't you think that the spirits would be more inclined to talk to us if we're doing that? That's just my personal thought on that. And I really do think that we can get a lot further in this field if we, this is going to sound bad, and I'm probably going to be misquoted forever on this one, but if we could lighten up a little bit and get along and have fun. So yeah, and I'm going to probably regret saying that because I can see all the messages coming in later on today. Real quick, again, because my guest will be coming on in about 20 minutes. My book recommendation, this one, talking about thinking outside of the box. I was visiting my mom, and we stopped at the local Salvation Army store. And they had a whole stack of books, and they were all the older books. And what I liked about being there is they were $1 each. So I think I walked away with 20 different books. So it looked like someone, either they had been collecting them and holding onto them, waiting to put them on the shelves for Halloween, or someone cleaned out their collection. Because I have everything from the book I'm going to show you right now to books by Jeff Bellinger and Ed and Lorraine Warren. And in one stop, I was able to fill up my bookshelf. But this book right here is by Hans Holzer. It's called Ghost, and it's True Encounters with the World Beyond. And this book, I probably should have looked up to see if you can get it, but if you can try to search used bookstores, or I'm not even sure if, Amazon, or you might even find it on eBay. But this book, I haven't even gotten through a third of it yet. It is absolutely amazing, and I've had it since October. He shares photos of haunted locations. There's hundreds and hundreds of haunted locations around the world, and he talks about the spirits, the investigation techniques used. And as you can see, it's a thick book, and it's also small print. So you're going to have, actually, looking at it right now, there's over 750 pages. But what I found most interesting about this one, and you got to keep in mind, because it was published let me get that date for you. It was published a while ago. Oh, this one says 1997. And then it was first published in 2004 as a paperback. But what I found interesting is it goes into, I'm trying to find the chapter of it. It goes into like mediumship, but then it also talks about psychic photography and the vision. It covers everything. You kind of got to think back a little bit. This is when you had to develop the film and use Fixer for it. And it shows Hans Holzer in photos doing the actual developing of the photos and all of that. And it's just really interesting. He shares different photos, different types of ways to capture spirits on film. And I know we need to kind of tweak it a little bit for all the digital stuff, but this concept still work. He talks about having controlled experiments to help establish communications from the so-called dead, and indeed received under the condition excluding any form of fraud, delusion, or self-delusion, and we must back that up on film. So he talks about that. It's not only just personal experiences that you need to have proof as well. One that I found real interesting is authentic spirit pictures taken at seances. The only thing that I found interesting, and it's one of those I need to research a little bit more on, is, of course, today, orb photography is a big heated debate area. And I'm not one, just because of the technical aspects of taking photographs nowadays, I'm not one to jump at a little ball of light as being an orb, because there's so many explanations with the IR and all of the flash and everything. But he does have a full section here on orbs, and he has several orb photos, and I don't know, some of them look like the ones you see today that are bugs. Others, look like they're actually glowing. And then he also talks about how spirits can materialize on film. And then he has a photo of psychic photo of Catherine the Great appearing with her descendant, and a whole bunch of interesting, and he also talks about how to go through the photo, analyze it, check for any natural occurrences, of course. And it just really, if you're into spirit photography, it really opens your eyes into what is and what isn't paranormal. So it, just really, really interesting book. Of course, you guys know Hans Holzer. Amazing. A lot of great stories, a lot of great research. One of the pioneers of the field, of the modern aspect of the field. And I need to finish reading that book so I can talk to you guys more about that. And hopefully that is available. I hate sharing books that I don't, you don't know if they're available or not. I usually check that, but I completely forgot. But I'm sure if you do some search for online, you might be able to find a copy of it. And being Hans Holzer, I don't see why it wouldn't still be available, or at least maybe some type of updated edition that his daughter might have done. So if you guys have any books, I always love sharing books, let me know. And if you have any book recommendations, and I'll look into it. And definitely, if it's one that I think would be a great asset to any paranormal investigator, definitely will share that on the show. And while we're waiting for a few minutes, we have about 15 minutes. I want you to go back and think what I was talking about. When was the last time you did an experiment or a paranormal method that wasn't seen before? Or, it might have been seen before, but it was something new that you wanted to try and not really mainstream. I also want you to think about locations. There are so many locations across the country, around the world, that are haunted. And then there's so many locations that are saturated with people coming and visiting them over and over and over. I mean, if you think about, you have locations like, of course, Waverly Hills. I'm trying to think of a few others. St. Augustine Lighthouse is always flooded with paranormal investigators. And you want to try to find locations that aren't mainstream in the paranormal field. And trust me, even if the location isn't known to be haunted, it doesn't mean it's not haunted. But it also doesn't mean it is haunted. We did, thinking back a couple years ago, the team that I was on out in Vegas, I was volunteering at a local children's museum. And we had a lot of fun. It was basically, the museum was an above ground simulated mine designed by the same guy who did the Indiana Jones adventure in Disney World. And when you walk into this place, if you guys go to my page at Dr. Heather Lee, if it's not on that page, it's on my Exploration Paranormal page. But I'll make sure I get those on Exploring the Paranormal as well for you to see. But this place is absolutely amazing. The minute you walk in through the front of the museum, you 100% feel like you're underground. It's like walking into a mine. And we've investigated mines before. So it's, it was kind of like I was home when and that's why I volunteered at this place. It was absolutely amazing. They not only did the mine have artifacts, they actually had a lot of replicas, but they also had clothing of a Donald Dresner, I think was his name, or Douglas Dresner. I'll have to look that up again. But I talk about him in my book that's coming out next week. And then they also have an elevator that came from an actual mine in Nelson, Nevada. Whole bunch of, I'm trying to think of what, there was a Area 51. There was a car from Area 51 there, a rail car, other rail cars that came from different mines across the state. And this museum basically showcased and wanted to teach children the art of mining. They had a great display on women in mining and having careers in mining. So you could go and learn what it would be like today to be in the mining field. And it's very popular in Nevada still, being out in the wild. I don't want to say Wild West, but being basically out in the West, there's still plenty of land that needs to be mined and can be mined. And we were there, and they were getting ready to do our annual Halloween event at the museum. And I was going anyway to set up a kids' craft and, have fun with the kids and talk to the kids. And I had said to the manager of the mine, I was like, hey, why don't we do, set up different tours throughout? Because what they did is they decorated the entire mine as a haunted house. They had, flickering lights and the jump scares and all of that, but it was kid friendly. And I had said, why don't we do different tours, completely free, that people can sign up for during the event. And we would take them through the mine and do like a 5-10 minute mock investigation. I had a feeling that the place was haunted, but never really had confirmation. And while we were doing these mock tours, we were getting activity. And from there, that spurred into, we started doing paranormal investigations and doing events to help raise money for the mine. And we learned over the many investigations that we had done there that the guy's clothes that were hanging there, he kind of hung around and was more or less protecting the place. So it was very, very interesting. And my favorite, I'm still trying to figure it out, so I need to get back out there and do more investigating. But there was a little boy that hung around the Area 51 car. And when we would do EMF detectors to test the EMF around the rail car, it would be spiking and like buried around that Area 51 car. But the minute you went to the car next to it that wasn't, they're all connected. There's like 4 or 5 cars connected. The minute you passed the link to where the connection was, it flatlined and there was nothing on any of the other cars. So real interesting, a lot more experiments that could be done at this location. And it's just a fun place to go. Philip Luna is the manager. He's amazing. I know Cindy just recently retired, but she was in Real Haunts Ghost Towns with us, and she's absolutely adorable. I know the new person who took over for Cindy as the assistant manager. I hear she's great. I've only talked to her via email a couple times. But that just goes to show, if you think outside the box, you never know what you can find. There's so many things that we could be doing in this field, but everyone gets stuck. I'm guilty of it too. We get stuck in the same rut. We do the same experiment over and over. We ask the same questions over and over. We investigate the same location. We investigate the same location everyone else has already investigated. We lose track of why we're in this field, and we just start doing what we're used to. We start doing what we see people are doing and getting results. We need to, and I tell myself this all the time, I'm like the first one to say this, I need to follow my own advice quite a bit, but I usually don't. We need to just basically snap out of it and try to figure out how we can move this field forward. We're never going to be able to move this field forward if we're fighting. We're never going to be able to move forward if we conduct the same experiments over and over. Yes, you need to, for scientific method, you need to conduct the same experiment multiple times. But once we know it works, once we have our answers, that's when we need to come up with a new experiment to start trying. Because once we have the answers, we're just going to get the same answers over and over. And that kind of puts us at a standstill. We need to dig deep and find that way, so that way we can move forward and kind of discover the field again. And I do mean that. We need to really discover what the paranormal field is again. Right now, it's just the same old, going to a haunted location, setting out our digital voice recorders, setting up our cameras. No, there's only a few people that I see actually do experiments. I know Georgia Paranormal Investigations, they've played around with Jacob's ladders and a whole bunch of different things. But you kind of need to expand. We need to really expand our horizons, because I personally feel that, we're all following suit. There's no cookie cutter paranormal investigator. We need to be unique. And when my guest gets here, you guys are going to truly, truly fall in love and discover what being unique in the paranormal field means and how it can truly, truly expand your activity and all the amazing, great things that we can do in this field. So with that being said, now that I've babbled on for a while, and this is what happens when I don't do show notes. I just start kind of babbling on. But if you guys have any questions at all throughout the show, please feel free to comment. I do monitor the comments as best I can while I'm on the show talking. Say hi, let us know you're here, share the video, and also don't forget to go to my podcast page. I will be sharing that again on my page. You can find me at Exploring the Paranormal. I think I have Exploring the Paranormal Show, but you can also find me on WLTK Radio and all of that stuff. Okay, and I see my guest has arrived, so I'm just going to finish up a few things, and then we'll do a quick commercial break before I bring her on. But like I said, you can, all the photos that I've talked about today, some of the advice that I've had, I do put on my page at Exploring the Paranormal Show. You can also find me at Dr. Heather Lee. And then also my team's page is at Exploration Paranormal, which is also our website, explorationparanormal.com. And we're going to be, our website, holy crap, we are actually working on updating that. And we're going to be including photo evidence that we've collected, audio evidence that we've collected, I'm going to be doing, I'm looking forward to it. I'm still waiting to get confirmation on a few things, but I will be doing a college tour next year as well as my book tour this year. So a lot of amazing things happen. And before we go to commercial break, I just want to give you guys a quick insight into my guest. Her name is Monique. She is absolutely a doll, and I just cannot wait to bring her on. She has been researching this field 20 years, I believe is what her bio said. I should have kept her bio up, but I didn't. And just absolutely, you guys are going to love it. And you're going to see a whole new perspective on the paranormal field. And I hope you guys have fun when she comes on. But we will be back in just a few minutes after this commercial break.
Looking for a holistic solution? Look no further than LimestreetWellness.com. Lime Street Wellness is a full-service Reiki therapy center offering in-person and distant Reiki sessions. Additionally, Lime Street Wellness is committed to helping clients co-create healthier outcomes with hypnosis, QHHT, and intuitive advice. Lime Street Wellness is committed to helping all that are seeking to co-create better health, peace of mind, and greater freedom. Reiki Master Kevin Mackey uses energy medicine, hypnosis, mindfulness, and intuitive guidance to assist in uncovering, understanding, and removing any blocks or energy cords or mental mindsets that may be intruding and causing needless suffering. Visit Lime Street Wellness today at LimestreetWellness.com. That's LimestreetWellness.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Exploring the Paranormal. I am super excited for this guest today. I've been looking forward to it ever since I booked her to be on the show. Monique is an amazing person, as I mentioned before the commercial break. She is the first person to bring drag to the paranormal field, which I absolutely love because it is a way to uplift everyone's spirits, make everyone happy, attract more paranormal activity and spirits. And just very interesting. And I hope you guys enjoy her as much as I am going to. And welcome Monique to the show.
Hi.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I love the color of your hair.
Oh, thank you. I went for a blue theme today.
I absolutely love it. So how are you doing today?
I'm really good. I'm barely awake, but I'm really good.
I know I was eating breakfast just before we went live. So.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I just got my Dunkin's coffee. Waking me up now.
Yeah, I didn't have enough time to go get Dunkin' today. Otherwise, I'd be right there with you.
I got a double.
Oh. So I'm super excited to have you on today and just absolutely love what you're doing for the paranormal field. It's absolutely amazing, uplifting, and just very heartwarming. So thank you for everything that you do, first of all.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And so I want to know what first got you interested in the paranormal field?
So I kind of have been into the paranormal since I was a little kid and always into horror, anything scary. And I had an experience as a child that kind of scared me so much that it kind of scared me away from the paranormal for a long time. And as an adult, I started to reopen that gift a little bit, and I started to go with it. And for about 15 years, I was investigating as an adult. And then one day I woke up and was like, why don't I try this in drag and see what happens? And I did once, and the results were insane. So now it's the only way I ghost hunt.
And like I was saying before you even came on, it was you gotta have, I don't want to really say have fun in the aspect of poking fun at the paranormal field, but you gotta have fun,
Yes.
enjoy what you do. Because if you go in and you're angry and upset and, oh, I gotta do this again, they're not going to want to talk to you.
It's the complete and total truth. And I say that at every event that I host. I'm always like, what you bring tonight is what you're going to get out of tonight. If you came in here, in a bad mood, you leave in a bad mood, probably. You have to come in with the energy of happiness and bringing love to the building. And you have to appreciate and respect what's there as well. And when you do that, you get the best results.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I'm sure you have too, been in the same location over and over. And you get different results each time, and it depends on your mood, the people who are with you, and it's always different. And I personally, like you said, it's you get what you bring into it.
Absolutely.
So, what is your favorite thing? I mean, I got to investigate with you. I just got to say that one of these days, you and I got to get out investigating, because that's going to be a whole bunch of fun. But what is your favorite place to investigate, or what kind of techniques do you use?
So my favorite place to investigate right now is Wilson Castle up in Vermont. It is one of the first locations to give me a chance in drag. That is something I'm battling constantly. Like, people are so afraid of something new in the paranormal world. But Wilson Castle is such a loving, happy place. And they were the first place to give me this chance. And so ghost hunting there it's like going home in a sense. The spirits are so welcoming. Everything is very positive. It's a very happy place. But it's also very active for me every single time I go. And you were talking about children, spirit children, before I came on earlier. I was listening while I was doing my makeup. And something about Wilson Castle that is so endearing and I find awesome is that it's full of children. There's about 9 different spirit children in there. And one of them his name is Elliot Johnson, and he is Sarah Johnson, the original owner of the castle's son. Elliot Johnson is one of the coolest spirits I've ever gotten to interact with. And I think the more and more I go there, the more and more he thinks of me as family. And he tends to play with the equipment more. It gets heavier and heavier with him. And I think that sometimes exploring the same location too, you can bring those energies back up. But I feel like they get to know you in a sense too. And then they become your friends almost. Like, Elliot is like one of my friends. I call him a friend. He's a spirit, but he's someone that does anything I'll ask him to do while ghost hunting. And I bring him toys to say thank you. And it's just so crazy. And that has got to be like my favorite place that I'm ghost hunting currently. Scariness wise, Conjuring House. Mm-hmm. But happiness wise, Wilson Castle. And Wilson Castle has this draw to it. Like, you go there once and you want to live there. It's such a beautiful place. And it has this weird energy that even the guests say they don't want to leave. Mm-hmm. They want to stay.
Right. Yeah. And I know we all have our one favorite place, like the mine that I was talking about earlier, that mining museum. That's my place that I would love to just camp out and stay at, because there's so much activity there and it's so uplifting and fun. But, it's, if you could investigate any one location besides your favorite locations, what would it be?
So, wow. Bucket list. Like, I'm dying to get into Old South Pittsburgh. Anchorage Hotel is on my list. The Sally House, which I'm actually getting to do now, Memorial Day weekend. Ooh. Very excited to check out the Sally House. So those are like probably my top 3 right now.
Okay. And I know you had mentioned the Conjuring House. Was that one that you did in drag, or did they not allow that?
They allowed it. Actually, the owner of the Conjuring House gave me New Year's Eve because I do it in drag. And I hosted New Year's Eve there with Sam Baltrusis. I'm not sure if you know who he is. Mm-hmm. He's been on a lot of different documentaries on Discovery, and also the House in Between movie, part 2. And so me and him did the Conjuring on New Year's Eve. And New Year's Eve was just, we were expecting it to be kind of quiet, because the first time I went there, it was pretty quiet. But New Year's Eve, it did not stop from the second we got there until the second we left the next day. It was insane. The activity was through the roof. We were hearing audible whistling. We had some sort of parasite kind of ghost there, which I've never experienced before in my life. Like, just invaded by energy. It was so cool.
So do you think the whistling was them whistling at you?
No, I wish. I do get that though. I definitely do attract creepy men ghosts. It happens. Like, and you wouldn't think of that being a thing, but same thing back to Wilson Castle. Colonel Wilson, who is the second owner of the castle, his granddaughter still owns the castle, and she told me, I was like, I feel like there's a guy following me around the castle, and he's like really into me in like a weird way. And she goes, oh, that's my grandfather. And she's like, he was just like this dirty old man in real life who would like hit on every girl. And he's like, he's probably really into you because you're wearing more makeup than any other woman in this castle has, and you're dressed like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, definitely, it definitely happens.
Yeah, we definitely need to get you to Madametussos out in Vegas, which is the location of the former Copa Club.
Oh, yes.
And when you're in that area, when I was over in that area, my butt was grabbed. So I can only imagine the activity that you'd get.
I've had my butt grabbed. I've had my dress lifted up before too.
Yeah, it's men are creepy even in the afterlife sometimes.
I feel like whatever you were in the real life, you're in the afterlife, you know? Like if you were a creepy man in real life, you're going to be a creepy man in the afterlife.
Right. Yep. Exactly. And so is there any location that you've investigated in drag and then not in drag? And are you able to compare the differences?
Yeah. So SK Pierce in Gardner, Mass, which is a very famous haunted museum. And I did that one in drag after doing it as a boy 2 or 3 times. I think I investigated it as a boy. And that was the first time I went out in drag and did a place too. And I asked her if I could do it there because I knew the spirits there and I knew going into it who would communicate with me. And I wanted to see if I got the same reactions from the same spirits too. And it was completely different experience when I went there in drag. And I got this EVP the first night I was there in drag that said, "He's a lady." And that was the first moment where I kind of like had this light bulb above my head. And I was like, why am I not doing this in drag? There's no one in the world doing it this way. It's changing the paranormal way. And it's also changing the way the spirits are looking at the people coming in to talk to them.
Right. Yeah. I truly think dressing that way makes them more comfortable.
Yeah. They think I'm a clown. They think it's funny. They know I'm not there to do anything bad. I'm not there to harm them. I'm literally there to have a party with the spirits.
Yep, exactly. And one thing that I was thinking about when you were talking about you did events is, does anyone else show up in drag at the events that you host, or is it just you?
I actually have had guests show up in drag. I've had like 1 or 2, but not normally. I do tend to bring a little bit more of the LGBTQ community into the paranormal as well. I feel like it was a very like hetero world for a long time, and I love breaking that barrier as well and bringing in a different community into the paranormal, and it's kind of groundbreaking.
Exactly. And that's, like I said earlier, it's a breath of fresh air. It's something new. It's, even though we do need to take this field serious because there are dangers, we can't take ourselves too serious. And that's why I absolutely love what you're doing. And it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, you have to protect yourself at first and foremost, going into a place, and we're very good about protecting our guests and letting our guests know how they can protect themselves as well. I would never put guests in a situation where, they were uncomfortable or anything bad in the building can harm them. I've never taken guests to a place where there's been like noted demonic activity or any places where people have really been hurt.
Yeah, that's why whenever we do events, we always make sure we vet the location first and we do an investigation to make sure that there's, because I mean, even though we don't welcome younger kids, but because we did the investigations at a museum, we did allow kids as young as 14 in there to do it with us. So we didn't want to expose those kids to anything that they could be harmed by. So
children are so part of my sensitivity is I have a very small sensitivity. I like to call myself a small instead of a medium for that reason. But part of my sensitivity is that I get children. I don't know why, but children are one of the biggest things that I can communicate with or that I can reach out to on the other side. For some reason, I can always tell when there's children around. I don't know if they just exude more energy in the afterlife and I'm able to grab onto them a little bit more, but I tend to attract children. I don't know if it's because they think I'm a clown too. That could be it. But that is part of my sensitivity. So I love, I have a lot of equipment catered towards children. I know you were talking about like cat balls. Like I love cat balls, but I also I have a Scooby-Doo REM pod that plays the Scooby-Doo theme song when a kid touches it. But I also have a teddy bear. I have, lots of cool little light up balls that aren't cat balls that, motion sensitive. And
yeah, like one of my favorite tools is the fidget spinner. And I have fidget spinners that light up.
And those are so easy to get. You can get those at the dollar store. Right.
And they work. I mean, I had a guest at an event, never even thought of it. She's like, hey, I have these set up all over my house and the spirits communicate with me through these. Can I try it out? And she set it out, made sure the wind couldn't affect it and it was flat. And she said, if you're here, could you please spin it? And slowly the fidget spinner. And ever since then, it's on every investigation with me.
Oh, see, yeah, and I've never used a fidget spinner, but hello, a dollar store item that you can take, and it's a paranormal tool. And when we take guests on a trip, I'm always trying to find, something new for them to like. I like everyone to have something in their hand, so everyone's an investigator. And cat balls are so easy because you can buy them in bulk. But like, that's a great idea. I'm totally stealing it.
Yeah, no, and I got, I think I got 6 of them for $12 on Amazon, and mine light up, and they're different colors. So you can set them like down a dark hallway, and then you could see if they start spinning because they light up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
that's
me too.
my little contribution to the field.
And did you also mention spirit cubes?
No.
You didn't? I thought I heard you said something about blocks or cubes and.
Oh yes, the wooden blocks.
Oh, okay.
The
I
old
actually have
antique wooden blocks
cubes that are like that.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, they're like little dice almost, but they're they look like children's blocks, except they're burnt. Like they burnt the letters onto the blocks, this lady that made them. And you kind of play Scrabble with the ghosts with them a little bit. They don't always deliver for me, but sometimes they can deliver very significant words to you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I never even thought of it, because what we did is we were at the museum investigating, and they had a children's play table, and it had those little antique square blocks with the A, B, C, D on it.
Yeah.
And I just built a pyramid and had the spirit knock it over. And I was surprised that it did.
I love that.
And there I am. Do it again.
Yeah. We're not the people that run from the activity. We're the ones that are waiting for it to happen. And when I hate when people run away from it. I'm like, you want this to happen. Stop running and screaming. This is so exciting.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I just completely blanked on what I was going to say.
You were talking about knocking the things over.
Right. But I was going to go into the not running away, and there was something I was going to say, but I completely forgot. Oh, well, it'll come back to me later on. I have so many things running through my head at all times that it's bound to happen. And
that's all of us sensitive people.
Yeah. And, that was what it was, is I definitely, we're working on planning an event at that museum that I was talking about. And if we are able to get out there, would love to have you there, because there's, like I had said, the spirit of the child that hangs around the car from Area 51.
Yeah.
And
I would
we're
love
trying to figure out why he hangs around that car. And
Do
nowhere
they have
else in the
mental
museum.
cars?
He's just around that area.
Very interesting.
Yeah. But a lot of us have seen him. I know someone had done a yes and no session with him, and we were able to get his age pinned down between 11 and 13.
Oh, wow.
So very,
I
very
wonder
interesting.
if that's the car.
That's what we're thinking. And because that car is the only car that has any type of EMF activity around it, the minute you step away from it, the EMF goes away. So that's
weird.
Yeah. But we'd definitely love to see if you're able to communicate with him while we're at that location.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And that's a fun location anyway. And they've been wanting me to come back for a while. So
where is it located?
It's out in Henderson, Nevada.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, because I lived in Vegas before moving to Florida. And so I did a lot of work out there. And that actually brings me to the one question I wanted to ask is a lot of my specialty is going into mines, doing the ghost towns, the Wild West towns, and all of that stuff, where if I were to be dressed up or wearing heels, I would be in a world of trouble. Would you ever dress and drag to do those? Or how would you go about doing a location like that?
I would totally dress and drag for those still, but I would probably dress a little bit more, probably not in a gown. Like I usually go hunt in some sort of like gown with, I don't typically wear heels because most locations do not want me scratching up their floors. But I wear platforms and like kind of cute, like little black shoes. But on New Year's Eve at the Conjuring house, I was ghost hunting in a black gown with a lot of tulle in it. It had like a 6-foot train on the back of it. And we decided to go ghost hunting outside, and I'm wearing 6-inch platforms and this long gown. So we ended up tucking the gown into my belt, and I still went outside in the mud, in the rain, in the wind, in these platform shoes. They're covered in mud still to this day because I haven't even cleaned them yet. But those are some of the best experiences for me, though. Like, not everyone is doing this. So I will totally run through a coal mine in drag with heels on. Not heels, maybe, but platforms or boots or something. But I love being in that messy situation.
It's definitely a lot of interesting activity out there. Completely different than what you get on the East Coast.
Yeah, I bet. See, everywhere I go, it's so different. Like I'm going to the Midwest for the first time, and or the I don't even know if you what do you call it. I'm going to Kansas. I'm going to the Middle States
Okay.
in Memorial Day weekend, and I'm ghost hunting 3 different places while I'm there, and I can't wait to see the different energy just in that area.
Mm-hmm.
I've never left New England except for California once.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And getting back to, there was a question that I had earlier, is you were talking about, one question I wanted to ask you is how well are you received in the paranormal field? And you kind of answered that when you were talking about locations don't usually let you investigate. But how do you feel the paranormal community has welcomed your new idea of doing things?
So it depends on who you're talking to and where you're going. I definitely have a couple of I call them famous ghost hunters, and I just mean people that are on TV and stuff that have kind of latched on to me a little bit in a good way, which makes me happy because I've definitely had my fair share of people laughing at me or not taking me seriously or leading me into something and then pretty much just wiping me off like nothing ever came of it. The drag thing is definitely scaring people, I think. Especially with what's going on politically right now. They're trying to make drag illegal in some states and in public spaces. And it's very significant right now that I'm doing this in drag, I think, even more for that reason. I just don't understand why people are so afraid of something just because it's not the way they're used to doing it. I'm getting a different result than these ghost hunters are because I'm doing things completely different than they are. So hopefully one day they wake up and they respect it.
Exactly. And that's just so sad. I mean, we should be able to do what we want to do. I mean, if we're getting results, it's just a shame that so many people get shut down just because of how they investigate.
I promise you, if a location says no to me once, they give me one chance, I will show them what I'm worth because every single event I've done at every location is sold out. So all they need to do is give me a chance. They don't have to agree with what I do or how I do it. Just give me a chance and I'll show you.
Right. Exactly.
I'll show you what I can do. And, I have the best reviews.
Yep. And that's all it takes, even with the paranormal field. There's so many locations that we can't even get in the door because the minute you say you're a paranormal investigator and you want to do an event or you want to do something, they immediately think of the TV shows. And it's like, no, let us in, let us, if you don't like what we've done once, just never have us back again.
Yeah. And that's another thing too. I don't have TV credibility yet. And that's another reason I can't get into some places either. Like they only will take you if you have 1 million followers and a TV show. And that really stinks for the rest of the world, that you're not allowing us to do something just because we don't have a TV show.
Right. Yeah. And it's sad because I mean, nothing against the TV shows, but there's some people that shouldn't be on these TV shows
that are faking stuff,
right. Yeah, that too. It's sad that some of the most popular shows are the ones that have even openly admitted that they've had to fake stuff just for the reviews.
Oh, I'm sure you've heard about these TV shows too. Like when you go ghost hunting, that all they ever do is talk about what happened with these shows when you get to a location, and they'll tell you all the secrets right there.
Yeah, I actually had one person try to argue with me that the way they were doing their investigating techniques at an event was the right way because they saw someone on TV do it. And I'm like, have you gotten results yet? And they're like, no. Yeah. I'm like, well,
there's no right or wrong way in my eyes. Like if you can take something like, look at you, fidget spinner, like that's not something that somebody would probably think of, but you thought of it and it works.
Yeah.
So open-minded.
And think outside of the box. I mean, I know my son, he's been investigating with me since he was 15. And we did an investigation, and the one investigator who was running it, he's like, try not to ask the same questions over and over, come up with unique questions. So he's like, is the earth round or flat?
Oh, I love that.
And he got an answer. He's like, round. And then he goes, is a fruit a tomato or a vegetable? And he got an answer saying it was a vegetable. Yeah. So, and
I would have never thought of asking questions like that.
Yeah, he was the only one who got responses that whole night.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I'm totally stealing that too. We did one time, which I thought was pretty inventive so have you heard of tripwire?
Yes.
So I have this tripwire. Mine is every 12 inches is a different EMF detector.
Mhm.
They kind of look like Christmas lights for the people who are listening and never have seen them, but they're 30 feet long and there's 30 EMF detectors on this. So one time we did an event at Wilson Castle, and because it's so children strong in the spirit sense, we decided to play Duck, Duck, Goose. And what we did was we wrapped the tripwire around the group and we asked the spirit to light up the person they wanted us to send out into a hallway by themselves. So we were putting our hands above each guest and going duck, duck, duck. And then eventually it lit one up. And we were able to send that ghost out. But we were so excited that that worked, you know? It's not what tripwire's for, but we made it work for that.
Right. And that's just a fun way to do something at an event that's different. Because you go to the different events, and I mean, I've only been to a couple outside of the ones that I've hosted, and they're all the same thing. You show up, you meet the talent, and then they send you off on your way to investigate. You're really not even investigating with the talent that's there.
No, and they'll lend you an EMF detector.
Right. Yeah. If you don't bring your own.
the most basic piece of equipment you can get, you know?
Or a K2 meter.
Yes. Yeah. And when you come on a tour with me, I have probably around $10,000 worth of equipment. I tend to buy everything just to have it. Not even if I might not even be using it, but I like to have everything because you never know if something's not working. It's great to just switch up the tool too. Because maybe the ghosts don't want to respond to an SLS that day and they want, you know, like a flux or envoy or something. So it's good to have all the backups for me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because, I mean, it's, you know, like you said, if they're not responding, maybe that's just not, you know, what they want to respond to. You know, I use a lot of the non-tech tools. So I have everything from the fidget spinner, the balls, the dowsing rods, pendulums, and all of that stuff. And sometimes the pendulum works in one location and the next time in the same location, it won't work. But you pull out the dowsing rods and they start working.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are things I can't work with. I am the worst with anything I have to hold on to and try and be steady with. I'm way too fidgety of a person. I can't do anything that requires my arms to be still.
It takes a lot of practice. But I do know my co-host for Ghost Education 101 that I host Wednesday nights, he built a contraption that holds the dowsing rods.
Oh.
And they move on there. It's like a box with little things in there that you can set them in. And so there's no human contact. And then also a pendulum, you can get a holder to suspend it. Yeah.
Oh, so it's not even in your hand at all.
No. I mean, I still hold them, but there are ways to do it without it. Yeah.
Oh, I love that idea.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much.
I'll have to try to find the photos that he has of the ones that he's made. And because he does a lot of different experiments to try to eliminate human. You know, he's the one I was talking about earlier that they use the Jacob's ladder on their investigations.
What's a Jacob's ladder? I've heard it, but I don't think I've ever had it defined.
It's one of those, it's like the two wires and then the electrostatic goes between the two wires from the bottom up.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, he uses that for experiments. I know we've actually used those static electricity balls.
Oh, I have one of those, yeah.
Yeah, we use those and yeah.
Similar idea, Jacob's ladder.
Yeah, he definitely thinks outside of the box and comes up with, but he's more technology savvy than I am. So
yeah, I love all of it.
So he's able to make the devices where I just, you know, I go to the store and buy a fidget spinner.
I like it both ways. I like simple tools and I like very complicated technology.
Oh yeah. There's I've actually done several presentations on non-tech tools and all the different, I mean, just completely thinking outside of the box, you know, everything from using compasses to, you know, turkey thermometers.
For temperature.
For temperature. Yeah. If it's in your home, you can use it.
Seriously, though. And you know what? Another thing is, too, that somebody told me that I'd never heard of before was parchment paper, laying it on the floor. And if anything steps on it, you're going to tell.
Right.
Or like flour. I don't typically will bring flour with me anywhere I go because people don't typically want their floors powdered. But parchment paper, I've used it once and had a reaction out of it, which was really neat.
Yeah, I've used a cookie tray with the magnetic letters, like you were talking about with the Scrabble letters. And then also the cookie tray, and then you put powder on it and try to get them to write in the powder.
That's another good idea, too. And then there's no mess.
Right. And then I know we haven't done it in a while, but we took a one of those clear plastic tarps for painting.
Yeah.
And laid it down a hallway. And then we put potato chips.
For eating or
potato chips down. Yeah, and then if anything walked on it, you'd hear the crunching.
Yeah, from the tarp and the potato chips.
Right, and then we just picked up the tarp and threw it away, so there was no mess left behind.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So now that we're talking about tools and different ways to use them, what's your favorite tool that you tend to go to first?
Tripwire is probably one of my favorites. Tripwire, and I love my Panda Box, which is a spirit radio that was developed by John Mallory. And it just kind of skips through radio stations. And I connect that to a portal so it's more loud and elevated, and you can get some really good clear as day words out of it.
And is there any tool that you don't like? Because I know we all have our favorites and we all have our, ones that we just don't like using.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of K2 meters. I feel like it's the tool that everyone brings to an event, but it's like the one tool I never can get to go off unless I put it near a plug, or, it's just never been a tool for me. So that's probably my least favorite tool is the K2.
Yeah, I think that one's the most popular because it's affordable.
Yeah.
It's one of the least expensive ones. And a quick story on that. We were actually doing an investigation, and it was with the one team that I was on out in Vegas. And we didn't realize the person who owned it, he put in just generic batteries and they weren't shielded. So during the investigation, the K2's going off, but it almost looked like Morse code. And we're like, we don't understand Morse code. What are you trying to tell us? And then upon further investigation, he's like, we needed shielded batteries. It was picking up its own batteries, but here we are thinking we're communicating with a ghost the whole time.
It was probably fun in the moment.
Right. It was. And I was like, well, that was a wasted investigation.
But you know what? It wasn't wasted because it's a memory you have now. Even, like I always tell people too, I'm like, something may not happen tonight, but we're going to have a blast trying to make something happen. And you're going to leave with an experience. We can't make the spirits talk. We can't make them play with the equipment. We're just going to go in there and cross our fingers and be happy and hope that they respond to that. And 99.9% of the time they do. Yeah.
And it's all they don't act on command. They're not circus animals is what everybody says, but a lot of people think they are. And
so when you talk about Morse code, I have a really funny story. So we were ghost hunting Sweet Spring Sanitarium in, I think it's in West Virginia. That place, bananas. If you can ever get there, that place nonstop, crazy, active, 320 something rooms in that building. And it is so easy to get lost. There's no electricity beyond one room. And so we were using a normal hockey puck style REM pod. And we were in a men's ward there. And there was like a spirit of a colonel that was communicating with us, or a colonel or a general, one of the two. And my REM pod was beeping. Beep, beep, beep. It just kept doing like Morse code. And so we literally have this like 6-minute video of this thing beeping differently throughout. And we have not been able to translate it yet, but we're trying to find someone that does Morse code so we can, because we think it is Morse code.
Right. Yeah.
It makes sense with military man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure. Start putting it out there that you're looking for someone to help you on that one. I'd be curious as to what that says.
Yeah, because it was so crazy. It was like non-stop the whole time, and we thought there was a malfunction, so we rebooted it at one point and started it back up, and it took a minute, and then it just started doing it over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That sounds, I'm curious as to what that might say if you ever figure that out.
Yeah, that's a great location, but Morse code is something I never had experience with until that night. Mm-hmm. And I mean, to this day, we're still trying to get it translated.
Yep. And actually, talking about generals and stuff like that, have you ever visited Gettysburg? That's like one of my favorite places to go. And I would just be curious as to what your responses would be in drag out on the battlefield.
I have not yet, but maybe this year. I don't know. I have a lot of new things coming this year. So lots of crazy stuff. I don't think I've done anything male oriented in drag, like just a completely male place. I'm dying to get into a prison in drag.
Mm-hmm. That would be
fun.
Interesting. I'm trying to think of if there's any that I know right now. Nevada State Prison would be a good one.
I want to go to Clown Motel out in Nevada, so that might be a good trip to add on to that.
Yeah, that place is fun, and the cemetery right out back is very interesting.
Ooh. Oh yeah, so it's a coal mining cemetery, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's the West has a lot of interesting things. I miss it a little bit, but I am glad to be back in Florida.
Yeah.
So much nicer and closer to family.
Yeah.
Let me just check.
I live in like Boston, so we're covered in snow right now.
Oh, I don't want to say I feel bad for you, but it's we've been in the 80s, so I can't really.
Oh, so jealous.
Trying to think of, we actually have gone through all my questions that I had already so quickly, but I'm having so much fun that it doesn't even feel like I've, don't know what to say. So what do you have planned coming? I mean, anything you can share. I know whenever it comes to planning stuff, we can't always release all the details quite yet.
Yeah. So I have a couple events coming up, and they are on my website, MoniqueToosoon.com. Like I have Wildwood Sanitarium, Hinsdale House, Wilson Castle. I have a couple events for this year. I just added 2 more Conjuring dates to my calendar for this year. I'm also going to be doing New Year's Eve there again. It went so well. We're going back. And then I'm going to be doing some very interesting, which I can't talk about the specifics yet, but I'm going to be doing a kind of pay-per-view Facebook live event in June. That's going to be interesting. I have a couple of like little quiet gigs that I can't talk about that are coming up too. Just going to be a huge year for me. I'm getting a lot of attention right now, and some of it's bad, but most of it is positive.
Well, and it's one of those things where any publicity is good. I mean, you're going to have someone do a negative review of you, but then there's going to be 10 other people be like, oh, well, why do they think they're negative? And then they're going to check you out and be like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah, I think the thing that just disheartens me the most is like you can look up to someone so much, and then you finally get to talk to this person or meet them, and then they're such a butthead, and you're like, well, that was so draining. So,
Yeah, that is heartbreaking. But then the opposite also happens. I recently had the opportunity, I can't talk much about it because it's not released yet, but I was interviewed for one of the TV shows. And everybody talks negative about this person, but he was the sweetest person I've ever met.
Oh, see, I love that.
Yeah, and it was just so, that was uplifting as well. It was like, oh, he's not as big of a jerk as everyone says he is. And so that's one of those things where you just can't take what other people say. But everybody, just like with paranormal, everybody's experience is different with people in the field.
Yeah, and it's true, and it's very true. And some investigators are very open-minded, and some of them are very close-minded. And I'm doing something that probably scares them a little bit because they're not used to it, and they probably don't know how to take it. And it's not even a very big, gay-friendly world. Never mind having a drag queen thrown into the mix. I mean, I know we have some gay investigators out there, but it's not a predominant thing in this paranormal world yet.
Right. And one way you could look at it too is I find a lot of people become mean when they feel threatened. So they could know you have something absolutely amazing and they know that what you're doing is great, but they're going to act like complete jerks because they're threatened by the whole thing. They're afraid they're going to lose their spotlight because you're going to take it.
And that's a thing that I hate about people. It's like someone else's spotlight isn't taking away from your spotlight. And especially you're not doing it like I'm doing it. So you're never going to get the same spotlight that I'm getting regardless. So don't be threatened by it. Enjoy it. Take it for what it is. Invite me onto an event or something. Work with me. You'll love me if you work with me once. I'm a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's what this field is all about. I usually try to stay. I've been doing this for 30 years, and I've stayed in the background for quite some time. It wasn't up until about 5-6 years ago that I started coming out and doing more things. But it's people are, I don't want to say ego driven, but some are. But petty.
Petty. There's definitely a lot of egos. Yeah. And for no reason too. Like it just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it's but it's one of those things where I always say it is what it is, and move on and just do you. It is and that's why. But I'm also, like I said earlier, I'm one of the few people I could give advice up and down on what you should do and how you should do it, and and people take the advice and it works, but I don't take my own advice. I'm like the last person. Yeah.
One of the best things that I've ever been told, and this was somebody that has come to a couple of my events, and it's a client of mine, and I own a hair salon, so I do hair too. Mm-hmm. And so one of my clients brought her son to one of my events, and he's a 17-year-old straight male. Well, I assume straight. I don't know this for sure. But I'm like, this kid is going to be so horrified by ghost hunting with a drag queen, blah, blah, blah. Never going to be up for this experience. I found out after the second or third event they attended, she was talking about it. And so I was like, oh my God, how does he feel about the events? And she goes, well, this might be a good review for you. And I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. So she asked him like why he likes ghost hunting with a drag queen and if he would, what his thoughts are on it. And he goes, well, first off, I would never do it any other way. Like, he loves ghost hunting with a drag queen. And he told her the reason he loves it so much is because at any moment where he gets truly terrified, I crack a joke and he smiles. Mm-hmm. And it brings them back into that experience. And I'm like, and that's something I love hearing, because you're not going to go ghost hunting and laugh, and I want you to come out and laugh. I want you to be scared, but I also want you to laugh and have a good time. And I want you to leave with an experience that you're going to remember in 20 years, not in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's doing what we do, calming the people down, is just as important as keeping the spirits comfortable. And the fact that he's comfortable is just amazing. You have a client for life now.
And you know what? And she told me a story about how they bonded over Ghostbusters when he was a kid. And this is something that she can now do with her teenage son. And that is so cool to me. Like, one of the coolest things.
Right, exactly. And the other thing that I like about what you do is, like you were saying, the LGBTQ community is, you're paving the road. You're making it to where, granted, it's going to be harder for you because you're one of the first ones doing it. But once you get that road paved, it's going to make it open for those who have been afraid to express them true selves. And I truly think that that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And it's about time, for some change in the paranormal world. I feel like it's gotten very, samesies and dry and like not much. There's not a lot of change in it, aside from a new piece of equipment or a different group of people, there's really nothing different about the investigators doing the investigation. Mm-hmm. So now there is.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I'm more on the scientific end of paranormal research. And it's my biggest thing is, yes, all these experiments are great, but once we get the answer using a specific experiment, it's time to move on and find a new experiment to try. Exactly. Constantly doing the same thing over and over and over isn't going to get us anywhere.
Right. And that's why I'm a big fan of, like, if a piece of equipment is not working, try something different right away, because you still have a chance to get something to work. It's just, this is not the right time. This is not the right piece for this moment. And, just get something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know you go to your events dressed in drag. Have you ever thought about going to a location dressed regularly to start, conduct a portion of the investigation, and then switch it up to see if you get any difference in activity between the two at the same time?
So I do change out of drag around like 2:00 in the morning at my events. So I start out in drag. I also start out at some of them as a boy, and I get ready on location too. Mm-hmm. Like, Wilson Castle is 2.5 hours from where I live. So I tend to like get ready in the most haunted room there. Mm-hmm. So that happens there, but I also change at 2 a.m. So I'm now investigating with my guests as a boy and not in drag. So it does change a little bit. I feel like once the spirits know me as Monique, though, like, I tend to get that response from them the whole night. But one time I did Wilson Castle one night as a boy, and the very next night I did it in drag. Definitely way more elevated. I feel like the drag portion of me is an energy feeder. Drag is a very high form of energy. And I feel like when I go into a place with this energy, I feed it. I feed all the spirits in the location, and it makes it insanely active. I call myself a battery. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's uplifting.
It is. And it's just, it's so fun to do it in drag, but like, doing it as a boy is still fun. It's just, I get a different result doing it in drag, and I'm doing something that nobody else is doing. And I just love doing it in drag.
Right. No, and I while you were talking, I was thinking, I wonder if you go to Wilson Castle and like you're dressed as a boy to start off with, if you're going to catch any EVPs, like, where's Monique?
So so weird. On New Year's Eve at the Conjuring house. So last year I did 3 events at Wilson Castle. So on New Year's Eve at the Conjuring house, we had a pretty famous medium messaging me on Facebook, and she somehow was in tune with what was going on with us at the Conjuring house. And it was really, really cool to have her chiming in. And she told me at one point, and she goes, Monique, there's this lady named Sarah asking when you're going to come see her again. And I'm like, that's so weird. I don't know why this is coming up on New Year's Eve. And I couldn't put my finger on it. And then an hour later, this lady goes, I know who the spirit is now. And she's Sarah from Wilson Castle. And I'm like, oh my God, Sarah from Wilson Castle is coming through the Conjuring house asking me when I'm coming to visit her again. So she's calling for me.
Right. Yep. Exactly. And that's so much fun. It's like, yeah, I almost wish it's one of those, I wish I was better in tune with the spirit world. Because like you, I just, I'm sensitive, but I'm not fully in tune with it. But yeah. I could just imagine them, you know, the ones that like to see you and are excited, you know, yay, you know, she's here. Come on, guys.
Yeah. And it's so cool that, like, you know, like, when do you come to see me again? And I'm sure Sarah is bored up in that castle right now because it closes from November through April. So they probably haven't had any visitors in a while. I'm actually going up there in 2 weeks.
Okay. What you need to do is kind of find a way that you could interact with them when you're not there. Almost like those dog treat things where you can come up on video real quick and talk to your dog.
I can drop the spirit cubes.
Yeah. And be like, hey, Sarah, are you here?
I'm going on February 18th, and I'm curious to see if anyone's really been in there in months or whatnot, because usually when a place has been left alone for a while, when you go back, it tends to be a lot more elevated. So I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen in 2 weeks when I go back. I'm excited for it.
We had that. There was one location out in Vegas that we would investigate quite a bit, mostly for training. It was where we had our team meetings, and then we would do an hour's worth of training afterwards. And then COVID hit. So we, you know, hadn't been there in several months after being there every month for a couple of years. And the spirit actually came to the house and was like, where have you been? You know,
oh my God,
it was almost like he was just kind of lurking in the corner, but he was there. And it's like, you know, it was one of those, I don't know. It felt like he was checking up, you know, making
like,
sure
where
that
are
I was
you?
okay.
Yeah, I feel like they miss us. Like, and that's why, like, Elliot, like, when I go into Wilson Castle, I immediately know when Elliot's around. And it's because I bonded with this spirit. And I mean, I bought him stuffed animals. You know, I'm planning on bringing him a toy when I go back on February 18th. It's like these little gifts that you leave for them too, I feel like make them remember you even more. And like you had mentioned earlier, like, some places are so oversaturated with investigators that, you know, I feel like when you leave a location, you take some of the energy with you and you leave some of yours behind. Like there's just so much different energy now in places because we're bringing and we're leaving, and, you know, so it's just so cool to have those spirits that you can go and you always know we're going to be there, like your diehards.
Yeah, my son, when he would do investigations, would bring toy dinosaurs to the investigation because it was a museum, so he's like, maybe they'll like it.
Yeah, anything, honestly, all toys. If it's a child ghost, any toy is going to make it happy. But you can always ask what toy the spirit wants too. I've asked ghosts. I asked, you know, Colonel Wilson, the pervy ghost at Wilson Castle. I asked him what color dress he wanted me to wear after the first time I was there, and he told me blue. So I got a blue dress, and I wore the blue dress for him. Whatever I have to do.
I bet that got some activity from him.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. When you wear a blue dress for him, he definitely liked it. He for sure responded to it.
Oh, that's too funny. Again, a question that was in my head and it just like went,
oh no.
I haven't had enough coffee this morning yet.
Where's the scariest place you've investigated?
For me, I would say it would have been, one of them was a residential. But the actual scariest place was called the Florence Mine. And it's up in Nevada. It's up in Goldfield, actually. And we were up there filming just before COVID. We were filming a TV pilot. And when I was in, a section of the mine had collapsed and we actually crawled back. And I was the one all the way back up to the collapsed area. And when I was in there, I suddenly couldn't breathe. I felt like I was being crushed. I was hearing men crying and screaming.
Oh, wow.
And then I started crying, and, you know, they got me out of there and I was perfectly fine. And that one, I literally thought I was dying.
And that's such a cool experience because that was your sensitivity, like at its strongest, it sounds like, you know, like every sense of it.
Yeah. And that scared me the most, even though it wasn't physically scaring. But yeah, that kind of, in the moment, it felt like I was there for hours, but yeah, I was there less than 5 minutes, they said, back in the area. And it was very, very mentally traumatizing, but then talking to the mine owner, the mine had collapsed. Several men had died back there, and they still don't know to this day if they got everyone out.
Oh, wow.
They still think that there might still be some remains back there from when it had
Probably.
collapsed. Yeah. So, yeah, but on a residential case, one of the investigators I was with, his eyes actually turned black and he lost track of time. And I was more afraid of what he was going to do if something took over him, because he was a big guy.
Oh, yeah.
So that scared me. And then at the same investigation, I was picked up and, kind of almost like tossed a little bit.
Okay.
So
that's not fun. I've never been tossed.
Actually, that was my question. Had you ever been attacked on an investigation?
I've been scratched on the neck. I've been grabbed. I had my ear pulled one time, which was really horrifying to me because I've never felt something grab me so hard. Like I thought it was a guest. And it like parted my wig and grabbed my ear. Like that's why that was scary to me. But as soon as I realized it was just someone messing with me, it was okay. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever had anything majorly traumatizing. I've never been in the presence of anything like what people would call demonic or anything. I don't think I've ever had a really negative spirit come after me, but the place I was scratched was actually at the Shanley Hotel.
Okay.
In New York, which is not really a negative place, but there's definitely something in there that likes to leave marks. Mm-hmm. The scariest place I've done is West Virginia State Penitentiary. Mm-hmm. And that place, when you think about the spirits there, they're all incarcerated men who did horrible, horrible things. And they give you warnings like out of drag, I'm just, like a little gay boy. I don't know how else to word it. And they were like, you make sure you're sitting down when you go in the sugar shack, because some people feel, what happened in there. And I'm like, oh, so, like I'm dying to get in there and drag too. Mm-hmm. I want to get in a prison so bad and see what happens.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to get you to a place like Gettysburg or even Williamsburg, dressed in full colonial attire.
Oh, I do. I dress the part too. I will totally dress in all stripes if I go to a prison. There was talk about me doing like a nunnery at one point, and I'm like, can I dress up as a nun, or will people take offense to that?
I think that would be fun.
I think it would get a reaction too. Like if you think about it, it might be offensive to them a little bit, but it will get them to react.
Right. Yeah. And you get them react. Any reaction is good as long as it's not harmful.
Exactly. And I'll let them know when I get there. I'm not doing this out of disrespect. I'm doing this as a costume piece or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Actually, my co-host on the other show, he recently did a location. It was a Confederate location, but he dressed up as a Union soldier. And when he got home, he had an EVP that is, he's going to hurt me. And he felt so bad that he couldn't wait to get back to the location and apologize to the spirit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
He's like, he felt so terrible. He's like, I don't know what I did. Well, I wasn't there to do that.
Oh.
So it makes you wonder what the spirits are thinking, especially, like I said, I would love to be on the other side to hear what they say when you show up, because I think that they're excited and ready to have some fun.
I feel like it starts as soon as I walk into a building too. I don't know if I've gotten ready in any of the locations aside from Wilson Castle, but I feel like when I'm getting ready, I'm watched. Like I have like a lot of eyes on me when I should film myself getting ready in a location, because I guarantee you would see movement behind me. Mm-hmm. It's one of the weirdest things in Conjuring House when I was changing from drag into a boy in that bathroom's like a time machine or something. Like there's a mirror on each side of the room, and I feel like when you look into one, you're looking through time into the other, and it's just this weird ass feeling. And when I was changing in there, I felt like very weird about it, and I felt very watched, and I changed really fast. Mm-hmm. Haunted bathroom for sure.
And why are always bathrooms haunted?
I don't know. I'm like, I can't even go pee without a ghost watching. Like let me be for a minute.
We always laugh. My son's, one of his first experiences was in a bathroom. And it's all on audio because we couldn't take video into the location, but it's on audio. He opened the bathroom door. He's like, Mom, there's knocking in here. I'm like, well, yeah, that's the most haunted location in the building. And I'm like, go finish, doing what you were doing. He's like, and he comes running down the hallway button in his pants.
Oh my God.
He's like, I'm not going back in there.
Oh yeah. So one when we were investigating the Conjuring house on New Year's, and I'm like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, but I'm gonna try and communicate while I'm in the bathroom, and then I'm gonna bring back whatever happens with me. So we were using like a spirit box to get words with the guests, and I went into the bathroom and I said, I don't remember what the word was, but it's something like maybe alien or something. And I said it out loud, and I said, when I go back to the room, I want to hear this word come through the box. Well, without a doubt, the word comes through the box when I get back to the room.
Mhm.
So it was so cool just to, spit out a word in a completely different place and then hear it in another room.
Mhm. Yeah, that's I love that too. And one other question that I had is when you go to locations, I'm wondering if maybe the spirits are, depending on when they're from, they might not even know what a drag queen is.
No, and sometimes
And
they're offended by it.
okay, yeah, that's what I was wondering is how, because like someone from, the Civil War time or the, 15 and 1600s, they would have no clue,
No,
what
they
it
would
is.
probably find it disturbing, and they would probably find something very wrong with it too. Because back in the, like I always tell the story of Sweet Springs too, because when we were in Sweet Springs in that men's ward where we were getting Morse code,
Hmm.
we were drawn to this one room in that hallway, and we entered the room and we found a whole bunch of very large women's clothes. And the thing was, is we were told that no women were allowed to stay in this ward. So this was just a men's ward. So we found a cross-dressers room.
Hmm.
And this person was probably institutionalized for being a cross-dresser back in the day. And here I am going into these places in drag where people were institutionalized for probably doing these things. Like, that's definitely going to get a reaction.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. And that all goes back to the, it's something new, something different, and they're curious. So of course you're going to get more activity and everything going on.
I make great bait in situations like that too. Like, I'm not afraid to be left alone somewhere.
Mhm. Um, Another question that just popped in my mind is, have you ever investigated a brothel?
So I have, but not in drag.
Okay.
I'm dying to get into one in drag too. That's another place because
Mhm.
Anchorage Hotel in Alaska, that's one of my 3 bucket list places. And that place is a very well-known brothel.
Mhm.
And the spirits in the basement there hate women. So I'm curious to see if they would hate a man dressed as a woman
Mhm.
as much as they hate the women. Like, so it's such a game changer because there's no one getting these reactions yet. And
Right.
like, I want these reactions. It's just about getting into the places and
Mhm.
figuring out how they're going to react to it. But the brothel at Shanley, I would love to get in there and drag too.
Mhm. Yeah, I'd be curious to see what kind of reactions you'd get.
If they think I'm a prostitute.
Right. Yeah, if you're the prostitute or a customer, who knows what side, and who's still hanging around. Because I know one investigation a friend of mine did. He was doing a brothel out in Nevada, and he's like, I don't know why I asked it, but I asked them if they serviced, only men or. And I guess the response was, no, I service women too, or something along that line.
Oh.
And that was another out of the box question, and it would be like, curious as to who they would think you are if you showed up at one of those.
Yeah, I would love to. Like I said, I would love to get into every location I can. I've probably done like 30 different locations, but the drag aspect to me is kind of in the past like 3 to 5 years. I've just started doing it, so I haven't hit every location in drag yet. I've been focused so hard on the ones that I've been doing events at, and like I was just invited to Kansas, so I'm going to be doing probably at least one of those nights in drag. I don't know which location, but I really want to do Sally House.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'd be curious
Yeah.
to see how that house reacts to a drag queen because it's very negative.
Yeah, I would be really curious on that one as well. So you definitely I need to keep following you. You need to let me know what's going on.
Well, sometimes when I don't do an event and I just go to a location to investigate it, I usually will go live or I'll do
Mhm.
something so that you guys can kind of join in on the investigation and see what's going on. But if I get in there, I'll go live
Okay.
if I do
Yeah,
that in drag.
and you're working with Ray with Flumery, right?
Yeah, Flumeria
Okay.
is my management company that's
Okay.
representing me currently.
Yep. I was gonna say that's because I'm with Ray as well.
Oh, you
So
are?
yeah, so we'll definitely have to talk to him about getting
Yeah,
some rotation
absolutely.
together.
Yeah, I love Ray. He's so nice.
Yeah, oh, he's a sweetheart. Yeah. Yeah, I need to start working on that today, but I'm trying to get some locations down here in Florida
Yes.
to open a few things up. And there's a lot of leads, but like with your issues is everybody, you hear the paranormal and it's like, nope.
Or the thing is they're so set in stone on the groups that they already have working there that they have zero interest in letting another group take a chance. Or like I hit a lot of that up here. I'm like, but you are letting other people do tours. Why not me? You know?
Right.
And it just sucks like that people would take like a space like that and seclude it to only certain people, or it's just not cool.
Yeah, we have one location down here. It's called John's Pass, and it's a an old fishing town that was known for rum running and pirates and a whole bunch of, you know, that type of activity. And there's actually spirits of Confederate soldiers there. And there was a group that did tours there, and they had such a bad taste in the mouth that they won't let anyone else in. And it's like, just give me a chance.
Yeah, that's all. One chance, just
Right.
one chance, and you will, trust me, you will want to book me every weekend.
Yep.
Like, it just stinks that there's so many tarnished reputations out there and just not open-minded places. Like Hinsdale, one thing that really impressed me about Daniel Clays and Hinsdale was that he bought this haunted place and he literally rents it out so dirt cheap that anyone can investigate it. And I love that, you know, like you're making this location open to everybody, not just the people you want in there.
Exactly. And that's what we need to start doing, is sharing, you know, sharing ideas, sharing our evidence. I mean, I've heard so many teams, especially out in the Nevada area, we're the only team that investigates this location. And it's like, well, you know, share it with others, you know, let other people know. And then if you want to go with them when they investigate it, they want $100, $150 for you to go with them.
Yep.
And it's just not. And then also Nevada was one of the hardest places to get into places for investigations because nothing against Zach, but there's a lot of negative aspects around him, and people just didn't want anyone in there because he was based out of there.
Yeah. He can be a little blocker in the community.
Yeah. No. A sweet guy, but just the show. And that, you know, I blame that on the producers.
Yeah, it's probably a mix of everything. And you know, when you're on TV for so long too, I'm sure some people will develop a bad taste for, you know, anybody.
Right. Yeah. And you know, that goes with the jealousy again.
Yeah.
You know, how is he able to do it and I'm not? Well,
he's had a show for 30 years, you know.
Yeah. He worked hard at it to get in.
I want to host, and I put this on Facebook a couple of months ago, or like probably a month ago now, actually. And I've been looking into locations and stuff, but I actually want to host a paranormal retreat. Like we see paracons everywhere, but we never see a retreat where people can just go and share. And I thought it would be such a cool idea to have like rent out like one big location, sell the tickets at like a cheaper cost price, you know, just so that people can afford to come. And then just like everyone have like a campfire powwow and, you know, share their experiences and their stories and their favorite equipment. And then, you know, split up into teams and ghost hunt a little bit and just make it more about the retreat part of it, though, you know, like the ghost hunters coming together to share and help each other grow. And because there's so many things you learn from each other.
Right. Yeah. And it would be a bonding experience, which this field so desperately needs.
Yeah. And, you know, it never hurts to socialize and create connections. And I mean, that's a lot of how I'm getting where I'm going right now is by socializing. And I showed up at WarrenCon last year in full drag and just stomped the whole place and made sure that everybody saw me. And, you know,
yeah, I would have loved to have seen that, because I know some of the people that were there might have been looking at you a little.
Oh, I definitely got looks. I definitely had someone call me a demon. But I will say like 99% of the celebrities there were like all treating me with respect. I had one that was nasty. But everyone was so wonderful. And I mean, I made so many connections. So many people were taking photos with me, and that's all I cared about. It was social for me.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Selling tickets.
It's fun to go to an event not being a speaker or being someone who's running the event, just to go and relax.
Yeah.
For once, because we get so caught up with hosting events, scheduling events, and, you know, planning to be speakers and all of that stuff that we lose track of what we're really here for.
One thing that sat well with me like so much after going to the WarrenCon was that Judy Spera, who is Ed and Lorraine's daughter, she sent me a message a couple of days after the event and told me that I was great fun and that her mom would have loved me. And I'm like, that is just something I'll never forget. That is just one of the sweetest things that anyone's ever said to me. And it just meant the world to hear that, Lorraine Warren would have loved me,
Yeah, that would have given me chills if I heard that.
I get chills even just saying it, like goosebumps all up my arms. Like it's just one of those things I'll never, ever forget. It's going to stick with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah. What I would have asked is what would Ed have thought?
Right? Seriously, I don't know. I've been trying to get into the museum.
I would have been curious about that one.
Yeah.
I appreciate Lorraine would love me, but what about Ed?
Yeah, I don't know. He probably still would have, though. I find that like most of the people were really open-minded. I get a little afraid around like people who are very religious too, because sometimes religion, and I have 3 dogs, I understand. Sometimes religion and drag queens don't mix well either. So I find sometimes that like if I'm going to be around people who are very like devout or in that side of the paranormal world too, that I'm going to get more disrespect. But I've been finding that it's the complete opposite. They're some of the nicer people in the paranormal world, at least.
Yeah, it's sorry about that with my dog.
That's okay. I have 3 dogs. They're just all sleeping.
I either she snores during the show or she starts barking something. But yeah, I do need to get to the Paracon, the Warrens Paracon. I heard it was such a great show last year.
The only problem that I had there was that the line was like 3 hours long getting into the Paracon. I just don't think they had enough people scanning tickets, or they purposely did that so it never got too busy in there. But
they could have.
Yeah, it looked like there was only 2 people scanning tickets for 6,000 people. So it was, the line was wrapped around the whole building. But other than that, it was great. The vendors were awesome. I bought some really cool earrings and, just some cool stuff.
Cool. Well, our hour's up with you. Unless you want to stick around for the last half hour of the show, it's completely up to you. But if not, we just do need to take a commercial break. So just let me know if you want to stick around or if you want to go.
It's up to you. I have nothing going on.
Okay. Well, we'll have you stick around for a little bit longer. Like I said, we go till noon, but you're free to go if you want to, but just let me know at any time. But guys, thank you for joining us, and we'll be back after just a few moments of a commercial break.
Heard a girl scream down here.
Are you kidding me right now?
I'm listening.
Very well. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm joined with Monique, who has been an amazing guest. I'm having so much fun just chit-chatting with you.
Me too.
That's what I love about this show. It's just back and forth talking. I do a little bit of planning, but not too much. So it's always just whatever comes to mind. And during the commercial, I remembered what I wanted to ask you earlier, or to bring up to you earlier, is you had mentioned that you also do hair and you have a salon. What are your thoughts on doing something different? I mean, continuing with what you're doing differently, but different in the aspect of doing like a paranormal makeover type event?
I have actually had it come up one time where somebody did ask me to maybe do like a charity event and put a couple of famous ghost hunters in drag and to raise money. And I would totally be down for that. Like that would be a lot of fun. And I'm all about raising money for charity. So.
Right. That's what I was thinking. Either something along the lines of that, or anybody who wanted to come and get dressed up in drag. I know a lot of wives that would make their husbands do it just for the fun of it.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
And I think that would be a blast of an event to do. And I mean, the activity that you would get just doing that. And you need to have the cameras set up while you're getting everybody dressed, because I'd be curious who's watching.
Yeah, it would probably open up the whole field for the night. All these people just getting ready. It would be a lot of fun too.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, a lot of laughter, and that would definitely elevate the area. Or another thing that I had thought of is the possibility of maybe bringing an outfit and to the Colonel
Oh,
and ask if he
like a
would dress
sexy
in it.
outfit.
Hey Colonel, would you wear something like this?
Oh yeah. I always joke with the owner of Wilson Castle, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to inherit this castle so bad. I'm like, I'm hoping your grandfather will put a baby in me at some point. I'm like, could you imagine?
Oh, that would be.
I'm like, I'll do anything right now to get this castle. I just love it so much,
Oh, and that would be, I mean, I could just imagine the things that if you ever got your hands on any haunted location that you owned, I can imagine the events you would host and the things that you would do. I think that would be absolutely amazing.
And that's a cool thing. I'm getting to host these events already at different locations, and hopefully in the next year I'll have some more open-minded ones to bring this to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually another location that I think you would be great at. A friend of mine down here, he owns it's called Paradolia Bar and Brewery. And they bought a haunted location on the Treasure Coast of Florida and turned it into a brew pub.
Oh, nice.
And they do paranormal investigations there. And
I've been able to do a bar before, but I didn't get to do it for some reason. I don't remember why.
Yeah, bars would be fun. Old saloons. Because I know the Pioneer Saloon in Nevada is a fun one to investigate. And that's where Clark Gable's ghost is believed to be haunting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he sat there waiting for word of his wife's death in the plane crash that happened a few miles away.
Okay.
So
you're in Florida, so have you ever gotten to the Robert doll?
Yes, many years ago.
I was going to say he's in Florida, I believe.
Yeah,
that's one of he's going to be at Michigan Paracon too, and that's one of the reasons I want to go to Michigan Paracon next year, but I don't know if I will make it because I have so much going on.
Okay, yeah, I hadn't heard he was leaving. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah. I love haunted dolls. I love haunted objects. I have a Chucky doll that I turned into an EMF detector.
Cool.
Nothing plays with him. No spirits like him. But Annabelle, I love Annabelle. I've been in the Occult Museum once, and then Annabelle was also at WarrenCon, so I got another photo with her there.
Yeah, I know. Robert the doll. It's been 20-ish years since I've seen him.
Okay.
But he's down in Key West, and actually from where we live now, he's about a 2-hour boat ride. It's faster for us to get to him by boat than it is to drive.
Oh, wow.
So, and we've been meaning to get back to him, but that's an eerie feeling. And it's one of those, I know the story behind him is very eerie, but the way they set it up, getting to him, I wonder if that also contributes. Because it's like you get instructed on what to do and what not to do. And then there's, signs posted along the way of what not to do. And
it's like kind of like going to the Conjuring Museum, the Warren Occult Museum. Like, I've never been a place where they make you pray before you go in. Like they definitely had a prayer circle before you even got to walk into that museum. And they're very strict about like, do not touch this, do not touch that, because, you could take something home with you. And it's very serious. I actually, from one of my clients bought me a bottle of the haunted vodka that sat in I think it aged in the Warren Occult Museum for 1 month. And they give you the bottle and it comes in like a box that looks like a Ouija board. And they give you gloves to handle the bottle. They also have storage options if you don't want a ghost in your house. In case there's something attached to it. But kind of cool little collector item. Only 666 bottles of the vodka were made.
Okay, that's neat.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, have you drank it yet, or is it still
I will not.
No, will not.
I will not. It's a collector's item for me. That is something, 666 bottles only.
Right. Yeah, I would be more curious. Not that I would want to drink it, but I would be more curious if the actual alcohol had any type of spirit attachment and how it would affect.
Yeah, I don't know.
Someone who drank it.
I haven't taken it out of the box yet either, or handled it with the gloves or anything. I've opened the box just to look at it, but yeah, I haven't done anything.
I'd do the same thing. I keep it that way.
Yeah, it's a collector's item to me. And it's a pretty pricey bottle of vodka too. I don't typically, spend that kind of money on a bottle of vodka just to drink it. It would have to be a collector's item.
Right, exactly. And so when you were at the War and Occult Museum, that's one of the places that I've always wanted to get into. What kind of experiences did you have?
It was very like hot in there, so I think I was a little distracted by the heat to actually experience a lot. But Tony Sparrow, who's Judy's husband, was the person who did the tour. And Lorraine Warren was there and alive at the time, and she was sitting on the porch, and we were like, "Can we meet her? Can we meet her?" And they were like, "No, she's resting." And we're like, "Oh!" But it was just so surreal to be in their actual house, which in the movies they make it look like it's just this room within their house. It's actually like not even attached to the house except by a runway almost. Like there's a hallway that goes from the house to the backyard, and then like there's this like shed kind of building, and then that's where the museum is. But the museum is so cool inside. There's probably like thousands of Ouija boards that people sent to them that were haunted. Everything in there was haunted or hurt somebody or caused harm to somebody. The stories that, I mean, I think they did like a 2-hour, 90-minute tour, something like that. And they explained a lot of the more popular stories there. And you got to see things like the Zoetrope from the Conjuring 2. And they kind of told us what was real about the movies and what wasn't real. And that part was really cool to me, just to have real stories versus what we're being fed by the Hollywood, you know?
Right. Yeah. Oh, the stories those objects could share.
Oh yeah, and I mean, just to see like what I had never been into a haunted museum before, and I'd been obsessed with the whole Conjuring universe before I went there. So just being able to see some of these cool little objects in person and to experience it from their daughter's husband was doing the tour. It's so personal. It's not like a random person doing the tour.
Right. Yeah, that makes it nice because then there's the connection there, and there's not, like you said, just some person who's given a script and said, here, follow this.
Yeah. And it's so far into the woods. It's like there's no easy way to get there. It was like 2.5 hours off the path. And, it was probably worth every second of that drive. It was absolutely worth it.
So outside of that bottle of vodka, do you have any haunted objects that you have held on to?
I've purchased like things. So I do have a good haunted object story, but I have purchased like Wilson Castle sells pieces of the castle that from the restoration and like vials and stuff. I always try to buy something from a location, even if it's just a t-shirt. I'd like to buy pieces of the location if they sell them, but like, I don't mind taking haunted things home. I don't really get a lot of experience in here, but one time I bought a bobblehead, and this was actually at Lizzie Borden, and the place when we ghost hunt, there's barely ever any activity. It's so quiet in there. But I buy this bobblehead. We bring it home, and within like 20 days of us having this bobblehead, like pictures are falling off my wall all the time. They're smashing on the floor, and I'm like, I have no clue what the heck's going on. We end up going ghost hunting with a very good psychic, like a really good medium who can literally tell you your whole future and your whole past. He's crazy. And he told us that we bought something, and it is a toy, and it's in the third drawer down of my friend's nightstand. And we're cracking up because we're like, he knows exactly what we bought at Lizzie Borden. It's the bobblehead. And he goes, yeah, you need to bring it back to Lizzie Borden because it's got attachments. And he goes, and they don't mean harm, but they're mischievous, and they're going to continue breaking things in your house. And I'm like, stop it right now. And I'm like, what are they breaking? And he goes, oh, pictures. And he goes, and they're just of the two of you. And I'm like, all these pictures of me and my best friend, only those photos were being broken. And we were the two that bought that bobblehead home. So we took that bobblehead back to Lizzie Borden and left it in her actual bedroom. And it's still there. And I'm sure they tell the story of it on the tour because, it's such a funny story. We bought the bobblehead. We didn't steal it. You hear stories like of people stealing things and that happens. But this was something we purchased from a gift shop.
Right. And nothing really tied to the haunting.
Yeah.
It's not like buying a brick or anything like that and bringing it home. It's, just a bobblehead.
Yeah. And I mean, I haven't experienced anything from the stuff I have purchased from Wilson Castle, but they've had bricks returned to them. And I have files of like wallpaper and copper piping. And, all these things go towards the restoration of these buildings too. So I think that's really important to put out there too. Like when you're ghost hunting places, buy t-shirts, buy merch, buy things from them, because like a lot of the times that's going straight into the restoration of these old places.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I actually, when I was out in Goldfield, I bought a brick from the Goldfield Hotel from when they were doing some restoration work, and no activity is tied to it that I've experienced or noticed, but in the world we live in.
Yeah. You never know.
Right. We just kind of, whatever happens, it's like, ah.
I've considered buying like a haunted doll on like eBay or Etsy or something, but I get a little too nervous because I do have a child and I don't want anything to, bother him or harm him. He is sensitive, so I don't want to freak him out.
Right. Yeah. That would be the hard part, especially with kids around.
Yeah, he's already afraid of the Chucky doll. I don't need to bring anything out to scare him.
That would be terrible. Or you need to move the Chucky doll around the house.
Well, when we first got it, we did, but it visually scares him. So I'm like, it's hidden in my, I have a whole room just full of all my ghost hunting stuff. So Chucky's in there, and I think he's grown to like Chucky in a sense. Like he's not afraid of him anymore. But when we first got him, he definitely is. And he's the easy Chucky that doesn't have like the scars all over his face, and he's the nice Chucky doll, the good guy doll.
Yeah, that actually reminds me. We were doing a residential investigation, and of course, all the lights were off. So I was upstairs taking photos, and just getting baseline photos, but I was using the flash still, and I was looking through the screen and scared the crap out of me. They had a Bride of Chucky doll in their room. And because I couldn't see, I had zoomed in right on the face of the doll.
Oh.
And the flash went off, and all of a sudden the face of the doll shows up on my camera screen.
Oh, I've done that in a mirror before.
Oh.
And you get a picture of your own face, and you're like, what the heck is that?
No, I did that. It was a client, and we don't normally allow dogs at the place, but she stayed behind, and her dogs were there. And I was taking photos of one mirror. It was like a little dresser stand type of thing. And it was clear photo. You could see me. And then all of a sudden there was this big poofy white thing at the bottom, and then clear photo, because I took several back to back. And I was like, I sent it to all the other investigators. I'm like, what the heck is that? It was her poodle. Had just walked in front of me at the time I took the photo.
You have experience with spirit animals?
I do. Yeah, several times. Yeah. At my mom's house, she has her cat. Whenever I go visit, I can feel the cat crawl into the bed with me. Oh. And then also she had a Pomeranian. So whenever he would go down the stairs, you would hear his collar go clink, 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 clink. And every once in a while you could hear that clinking going down the stairs.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've had a cat once come across. Spirit animals, like I have my own animals in my house that have passed. I feel like they visit me more in dreams than they do like in person, and and you can tell when you have one of those dreams that's meant to tie into your sensitivity. Like, and I lost 2 of my dogs last Christmas, not this past Christmas, but the one before, and we lost 2 of them within a month of each other, and one of them was like my favorite dog ever. And he came to me one night. I was literally like, I need to see you, I need to remember you for just a couple of minutes. And I had probably a whole night of just having him in my dream, and it was just amazing. And it hasn't happened since, but I was like, that was one of the best dreams. And it just helps you move on.
It does. Yeah, it does. And another experience that we had with an animal is roadrunners out in Vegas.
Oh,
there was one that I saw starting to cross the road and then disappeared.
Ooh, I love those things. I love when things like start and then they just disappear into thin air.
And it was gone. And I was looking all over the place because it was so wide open. We was seen it running away, and it was just gone. And I was like, okay.
Do you have that on camera?
No, we were just arriving at the location, so we didn't have anything. That's when it happens.
I love that stuff. Like when you see like something that actually just runs and then disappears. That's right. One of my favorite kinds of evidence. I've never captured that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, the only thing I've ever captured on actual video, or not video, on a visual was we were taking photos of it used to be a brothel out in Vegas, not Vegas, Goldfield, across from the hotel. And in one of the photos, if you look in the one window on the side of the house, it's almost like a glow. And when you zoom in on the glow, it's outlining the shape of a person standing in the window.
Oh, wow.
So, but all the other photos taken around it, there's nothing in it.
I love it when you got so I feel like sometimes it's so hard to capture things on camera, because you sometimes when you're so focused on being in the moment too, that you're not really paying attention to where the camera's facing, or I have a lot of cameras that I just place places for that reason. But it's so hard to be in the moment and then capture something at the same time. And you see so much in person, but you know, nobody ever calls that evidence because you didn't capture it, but you have experiences. And
Right. Yeah. And that's the hard part is the experiences are great, but it's, you know, I don't want to say they mean nothing unless you have, as far as paranormal evidence, unless you have that to back it up.
yeah, I just wish I had a camera crew following me around the whole time I'm ghost hunting. Be like, capture this, capture that, you know.
We
Tell you
did
where it
that
is.
when we filmed our documentary, and it's distracting.
Yeah.
And I was constantly being told, don't look at the camera.
Oh yeah, yeah. I did like a little bit of filming. I'm actually doing somebody's there's like a husband and wife that do like a little YouTube series, and I'm joining them on an episode. So there'll be something filmed in a little bit that you'll be able to see of me actually ghost hunting. Which is kind of cool. I'll let you know on Facebook when that comes out.
Yeah,
but
definitely let me know when that comes out. So would love to see that.
I'm so horrible of it, like going through my own evidence for my own events. I usually upload it to a website and I'm like, here, you guys, you came to the event, you guys go through it. Like, I don't want to sit here and watch 16 hours of 5-minute video clips. And, you know, like I'll make notes of where things I want to go find are, but I don't want to sit there for 16 hours and go through evidence.
That's the hardest part about this field.
Yes. But then you find people who are really into doing that and wanting to scrape through it. So I have friends that love going through the videos and the evidence. So I let them do it, and then they share with me what we find. And
yeah, I have one friend, he actually does a Twitch show. And when he does investigations, instead of analyzing it beforehand, he'll do it live on his show and lets the audience, you know, the audience will be like, hey, go back 3 seconds. And
that's a really good idea. I totally should do that in full drag. And hello.
Yeah. And he just does an hour at a time, you know, but it's not much, but that's how he does his reviewing of the evidence. And he has multiple, you know, hundreds of people watching him and all those eyes and ears listening.
That's a great idea, because people always catch stuff in our photos before, you know, half the time before we do or I do.
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of evidence, what is the most memorable EVP you've captured?
He's a lady.
He's a lady. That's the one. Yeah.
I will never get old. I listen to it all the time. The clearest one we've ever caught.
Uh-oh. I think we've lost her. So while we wait for her to come back, sorry about that, guys. We were waiting to see here real quick. Todd, just let me know. Oh, there she is.
I don't know what happened. I got disconnected.
I was like, oh no, we only have a few more minutes left. So
there's another EVP I captured at it was at Wilson Castle, actually, in the attic, and it's a little girl saying wait, and it's just clear as day wait, and people turn around and looking for her, and she's not there.
Okay.
So it's really cool. Those are on my TikTok.
Yeah, the one that I captured is we were investigating a location near where Tupac was murdered in Vegas.
Yep.
And one of the investigators had said, wouldn't it have been cool to have been able to communicate with, you know, Tupac here?
Yeah.
And in the EVP right after that, it's I'm right here.
Wow.
Yeah, clear as day. Whether it's him or not, it could have been someone saying, I'm here, communicate with me. But it was very coincidental.
Yeah, it could have been someone just messing with you or giving you what you wanted to hear too.
Right. But it was that's a clearest EVP I've ever captured. And I thought that was really cool.
Those are my favorite. Like when you listen back and you like, I can't get enough of listening to them. I'll like listen to my own TikTok over and over just to hear my own. EVPs are so cool, and they're not common like you think they are, because that's like the one thing they do on TV. You know, they do a lot of EVP work, but they're not that common.
No, and people also need to realize that when they do the stuff on TV, they're there for a week or 2 weeks.
Yes, and half the time they're not spending nights in there either, like we are, you know.
Right? Yeah, they're there multiple times.
Yes, yeah. A lot of people don't realize a 1-hour show is 3 days of filming,
right?
Or 5 days, or you know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're almost out of time. Thank you again for being on the show. Let everyone know where they can find you, so that way they can stay in tune with what you're doing.
Perfect. I'm Monique Toosoon on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And you can go to MoniqueToosoon.com if you want to find out more about my events or anything else.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been absolutely fabulous. I so enjoyed having you on the show.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it too.
Thank you. And everyone else, thank you for watching Exploring the Paranormal. We will be back next week with another amazing guest. Unfortunately, I don't have his name written down in front of me, but he is. I'll be posting that on my page. You can find it at WLTK-DB Radio on Facebook, or you can also find me at Dr. Heather Lee on Facebook. So thank you, everyone, again. And thank you again, Monique, for joining us. You all have a great day.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.